Hi, I'm Professor Goins, and welcome to the Math Professor's YouTube channel. If you're looking for videos explaining topics in college mathematics, please hit that subscribe button because you are in the right spot. Let's get into the current video. I want to take a look at where does the quadratic formula come from. Now, if you are in pretty much any college mathematics course, there's a very good chance that you will have used or will be using the quadratic formula. I remember as a student we used it pretty much from pre-calc up through courses in partial differential equations. Any sort of computational math course, the quadratic formula comes up pretty frequently. So we usually tell students, that the main thing you need to know is have it memorized, know how to use it. We really don't concern ourselves too much with where does it come from. In the lower level courses, once you kind of start getting into, above the calc courses, you might want to have a little bit more information about, well, okay, here's this formula, but how did we get it, just out of curiosity? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. All right, so where does the quadratic formula come from? Well, remember that the quadratic formula is the solutions to a general quadratic equation where I've got ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to start with the general quadratic equation. So I've got 0 is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. And let me just kind of give you the game plan before we start going through it. What I'm going to do to solve this equation is use completing the square. Okay? Completing the square is a technique that you will learn in your pre-calc course, and once again, you're going to use it throughout subsequent classes, but completing the square is the key to solving this general equation and then again ending at the quadratic formula. Now, if I want to use completing the square, remember that that only works if the leading coefficient is positive 1. That means that whatever a is, in this case a is arbitrary, that means I've got to factor it out. That would give me the following. A times x squared. Now, how do I factor an a out of a b and a c? Well, you could think of it that I'm taking a factor of a and putting it in front, and then I'm doing a factor of 1 over a in each of these terms. So in other words, said differently, I'm just dividing each of these by a. So x squared plus b over a x plus c over a. And of course, I could quickly check if I take that a and redistribute it back through, I would get a here, b here, and c here. Okay? Inside the square brackets, then, we can go ahead and complete the square. And the idea is, when we complete the square, we write the first two terms. Then I'm going to add and subtract a term here where they're going to cancel each other. So really I'm adding a form of 0. And the way that I come up with this is I take the coefficient of x and I divide it by 2 and then I square it. So in other words, my numerator here, this fraction, of course, will simplify, but it's going to be b over a. It's half of b over a. And then I'm going to subtract the same thing. Minus b over a over 2 squared plus c over a, and then close the bracket there. So in other words, I added and subtracted this term right here. This is equal to 0, keeping the expression balanced. Now, the idea, well, here, let's go ahead and simplify what I have in the parentheses here first. X squared plus b over ax plus, now b over a over 2 is the same thing as b over 2a. And it's possible that, again, if you're watching this, chances are you know the quadratic formula. And this might be sort of the first part of this procedure here where you're like, oh wait, 2a in the denominator, that sounds familiar. Well, there you go. There's my 2a in the denominator, as we'll see as we go through where that's going to come from or where that's going to go. So b over 2a squared and then plus c over a. Okay, squeaky marker today. Okay, now when we go ahead and we solve, or when we complete the square, remember we take the first 3 terms, we group them together, and then we factor, and then the last 2 terms here we group together and evaluate. Well, let's see. If I take these first 3 terms here and factor those, okay, remember I have to come up with a pair of numbers that multiply to get this term here and add to get this term here. Well, what 2 numbers would multiply to get b over 2a squared? Well, since it's squared, it's like saying, what do I multiply to get 4 squared? 4 and 4. What do I multiply to get 2 squared? 2 and 2. What do I multiply to get b over 2a squared? b over 2a and b over 2a. And then what happens when I take b over 2a and b over 2a and add those? I get 2b over 2a, which is b over a. That means that those first 3 terms are going to factor as x plus b over 2a squared. Let me see if I've got a different marker here of the same color. Let's see if this one works better. I think that one works a little bit better. Okay, and that was a 2. And then we are going to subtract the terms on the end. Now b over 2 quantity squared will be minus b squared over 4a squared, and then this is plus c over a. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is, again, this is equal to 0, right? Let's take that a that I had out front and let's distribute that through. That's going to give me a times x plus b over 2a squared. And then when I multiply this by a, I would get minus b squared over 4a, and then plus c. All right. Now, if I look at this equation right here, again, a, b, and c are just constants. I've got x in one spot. So what I can do is I can take this equation right here and I can actually solve it for x, right? Getting up to this point right here, all I did was complete the square. Now I'm going to go through and solve that equation. Okay. So let me go ahead. I'm going to leave this up here. Let me go ahead and clean this up, and then we will continue. Go ahead and solve that. Well, this term and this term I can add and correspondingly subtract to the other side. That's going to give me b squared over 4a squared minus c is equal to a times x plus, actually this marker is not that great either. Let me see if I've got another one. Try this guy right here. I just want to keep it the same color. X plus, oh, that's much more vibrant. Go over all those. A times x plus b over 2a squared, right? Copied that right. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and divide by a. Oh, this is a to the first, 4a to the first. Right, b squared over 4a. I'm going to go ahead then and divide both sides by a. That's going to give me b squared over 4a squared minus c over a is equal to x plus b over 2a squared. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and take the square root of both sides, but let's go ahead and let's combine this into one expression here. Common denominator would be 4a squared. That's going to give me b squared over 4a squared minus, well, again, I need 4a squared on the bottom. What do I have on top? Well, this did not have a 4, so I need a 4. This did not have an a. or an a squared, so I need another factor of a, so I'm going to put an a on top, and there was already a c there. Notice I've got b squared minus 4ac. That should look familiar. This is then, of course, equal to the right-hand side. Okay, take the squared, combine this into one fraction, and then take the square root. That's going to give me x plus b over 2a is equal to, again, take the square root, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. All right, now subtract this term over. I get x is equal to negative b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. And of course, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of a squared is the absolute value of a. So this would be 2 absolute value of a. And then I can, let's see, if x is equal to, so I guess in the very beginning I should have said that I'm going to assume that a was positive. If not, I can just divide by a negative and then everything will work out. So I'm going to say this is positive a, and then I can combine the numerators, giving me negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And that gives me the quadratic formula. So really all I have to do is take the general quadratic equation, complete the square on it, solve for x. There's the quadratic formula. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing.